Wagwan peeps, it's Venom, what you saying? Alongside my home slice, damn me to the Zane. When she and I get together on the poddy, ask anybody, the vibes are insane.
Join our family and feel free to come by. We on Apple Podcast and Spotify.
Yeah.
New drop on the way every Monday at 6.
Tune in and come see what we unpick. What's good, people? It's your boy Venom in the building, alongside my co-host Dammy to the Zane.
Hey, hello, hi.
And welcome to the Unpicked podcast, where we talk about all things podcasty and then unpick them. Now, this week, seeing that we're in Mental Health Month, we're going to do a little bit of an open discussion about mental health. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about Lizzie passing on, our poor Queen Lizzie, who we're all mourning for right now. We're going to talk about Mr. RayJ and Kim K and how this sex tape is still with us. It's still current news and the story develops. And we're also going to talk about Chris Kaba in the car chase with the police in Streatham. That's what we're going to get into today. But before we do get into all of that, Dammy is the quiz master. I'm the man in the hot seat. And she's going to hit us with the this or that question. So yeah, man.
So this week, the theme is, if you could go back and do it all again, which would you choose? Find love sooner or find the way to happiness?
I'd say find love sooner.
Oh, that's so cute. Live in a different city or have a different career?
Different career. That's an interesting one. But to be frank, I'm pursuing a different career. So the career I'm pursuing is the one I want, and I would want that in another life. So I'd say maybe live in a different city. London is mad and exciting, but maybe, yeah, then I just get to experience something else. So yeah, maybe live in a different city.
Have different friends or have kids sooner?
Yeah, no, same friends for sure. Kids sooner, for sure. Because yeah, good.
Cool. That's that. That's your this or that
Boom.
for the week.
Bang, brie.
Boom. So, Queenie, she gone. Yeah, man. So how you feeling about that?
I was actually not even in the country when the news broke. I was away in Spain, enjoying the sun, beating down on me, drinking mojitos and, living the high life. And then my brother texted the family group chat. Yo, our inside man works at Parliament and that. And he's saying that Lizzie's gone. I just let the people at the table know, because now the memes start popping up on the Instagram and stuff. And I'm like,
one
guys,
gone, the next one born.
you see it there? Gaza forever.
Guys, forever.
Nah, wait. Oh, no. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah,
so
man.
then, I was just, me personally, I never knew her, innit? So it's the same as anybody who passed away that I never knew. Bad times for you and your family. Hope you're all blessed and well, and that, yeah. But me personally, nah. They're just, respectfully, they're egging it. They're supposed to egg it. It's the queen. So it's just one of them ones, and it's like, all right, cool, we're gonna do this. Then let's do this, innit? I'm just here for the bank holiday. Just tell me. Obviously, we've got this bank holiday coming up. What's it, on the 19th?
The day this drops, guys, it's a bank holiday.
Wow. So I just need confirmation that's annual. You know what I mean? Because one off, that's not really cutting it. I need it every year, like Lizzie gone day.
I doubt it. In dream.
Yeah. So, yeah. What? How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's never nice losing granny or your mum or family member. So from a human perspective, R.I.P. in it. Rest up, Lizzie. Know what I mean? Rest up, Queenie. But in terms of caring about the monarchy, what happens next, I don't give a damn, to be honest. We're in a crisis at the moment, and I think I don't even think it's just in the UK. I feel like every country is struggling financially at the moment. The war with Russia has hugely impacted that, not even to mention COVID. In the UK, we've got loads of people living in the streets. I'm sure in other countries it's the same, but it mainly affects us here, what I'm about to say. And, you know, her passing, it's unfortunate, it's sad for her family, for the people who are royalists. But now it's like everything is about that. And they're no longer talking about the cost of living crisis.
Yeah.
Energy bills are about to go up in the next few weeks. There's no more talks around how the nation is supposed to survive with that. And we all know this funeral, these processions, or this ritual and whatever, it's going to come out of the taxpayer's pocket anyway, on top of all the expenses that we currently have. Not to mention, again, from a human perspective, I hear it, it's sad for her family, but as someone from one of the countries that was colonized back in the day, I don't really care for the monarchy, to be fair. So, yeah, I want my bank holiday. We're going to get it. I'm going to do something fun and cheerful that day. I will not be tuning in to watch no ceremony. I don't care. So I said rest up. I already said my rest up. I already said my RIP. I feel for the family and that, but apart from that, that's where it ends with him.
So RayJ's put himself back in the spotlight over the Kim K sex tape. Him, Kris Jenner, Kim, they were kind of been going back and forth on Instagram. Mainly it looks like him, but there's definitely some going back and forth. He's been exposing contracts, DMs, and he's just trying to clear his name, is what he said, because he doesn't want his kids to think anything untoward about him and that history. So he's trying to clear the air for real and get the true narrative out there so his kids know the truth. And yeah, obviously they've been mad in the Instagram. I don't know why Instagram is where everybody thrashes it out, like. Because you could definitely just do one big YouTube video, or...
Is YouTube really popping like that anymore?
YouTube is popping, like... I mean, the big YouTubers, you could just do an interview with them. He could go on Joe Rogan. Not that Joe Rogan necessarily wants him, but do you know what I mean?
You know what? Hit him up. I
feel like there's other places
he can come on our other project. Hit him up.
I'll hit him up. He can come on our thing, and then we'll do the big expose, deep dive, what really happened, RayJ, Kim, the receipts, document it. We'll just, get me?
Yeah, man. On the other thing, though.
On the other thing.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. Like, are you over this story?
You know, I wouldn't put anything past the Kardashians to... Because Kris Jenner, yeah, she's a businesswoman first and foremost. Like, she's about the shmoney. And she's a good mamager. All her kids are doing something. She's got
That took me a minute. I've never heard that expression before.
What, mamager?
Like, yeah.
Oh, no. It's a thing. I didn't make it up.
No, I know. I just had to process it. I've never heard
it. Yeah, so she's we have to give her props. Like, she's probably the best in the game, because all her kids, apart from Rob, all her kids are doing something, making peas, like proper in the limelight. There's always something. Their name's always somewhere. Like, Kim's jumping on other stuff now that I never expected her to jump on. You know, there's always something going on. So I wouldn't put it past her, you know? Like, let's face it, that scandal's what really put the Kardashians on the map. because they were doing their show, but no one really gave a damn. And no one was really talking about the OJ case anymore. So it's like part of the history, I guess, but it wasn't like a thing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, she had to monetize her child somehow, kind of like how you've been trying to monetize me on OnlyFans. So, you know, I get it. You know, it makes sense. So, yeah, I wouldn't put it past them to orchestrate the whole thing. I find it interesting, though, that RayJ loves to talk about them when no one's talking about him. Not that people talk about him anyway.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't help him in that sense, because people will probably just say, okay, no one cares about you. No one's talking about you. Just out here talking again. And it's about Kim again, you know? Why didn't you talk about this sooner? You know, I mean, he did a whole song, I Hit It First. Like, he didn't talk about it then. So why is he talking about it now? But, I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. I've not heard anything from them about it. They've not said anything in response.
No, I just saw a tactical post from Kris Jenner where she came out in a outfit. It's the one that I sent you in the DM. I don't know if you saw it. Where she came out in an outfit and she just started dancing, and I was just like,
was that in
distraction
response?
tactics?
Was that in response?
I think it was in response, not directly, like not like, oh, RayJ, this for you. More so like her name's getting dragged through the mud. The person dragging her name picking up some steam in terms of people are like resharing, and it's on Shade Room, and it's becoming a topic of conversation. And then she just comes out, pow, serving a look, doing a funny dance. It's not about anything, but now you know what I mean? It just washes over the other things. If you
Again,
understand what I mean.
I'm telling you, that woman, I feel like that woman's a genius.
I
When it
saw
comes
that
to
dance, I said-
marketing, that woman's a genius. She knows what she's doing. And I don't think people are dragging her name through anything. I mean, I mean
him.
Yeah, I mean, I
that.
guess the whole pimping your child out, but she been pimping her child out, her kids out for them to make peas, and they're rolling in it. They've done what they needed to do, and it's the past now. No one cares. Kanye got Kim her tapes back, so she's in possession of the tapes. So anything RayJ says, there's nothing he can really do. This is the only thing he can do, really, to bring it back up. He can't re-expose her or anything like that, because they've got the original tapes back. So, yeah.
Or they believe they've got the original tapes back, because Kanye got those tapes from RayJ.
Kanye got the whole computer that they were on. The whole computer. You know how the old school computers was like, you had the big screen, and then you had the actual computer was that box thing that you he brought that back. He was like, it's in there, innit? It's not a floppy disk. It's not a CD. Yeah. It's not a USB.
That's Kanye doing his performative thing, man, because that don't even make sense. Like, the fact that me and you probably have seen clips from this tape and have never seen that computer before is proof that having that computer doesn't actually mean...
No, because the threat was that they had other videos, not the stuff that's already out there.
Because RayJ said they filmed like 3.
Yeah.
2 of that one, and the 2 versions of the one that we all know.
Yeah.
And then another one that never come out.
Yeah. And that's the stuff that Kanye's got now, apparently, or given back to Kim or whatever.
Yeah. But I still think there's copies of that. Those
there
other
might
tapes
be.
out there.
I mean, it's possible.
Who has 3 sex tapes of Kim K on one machine for like, how long has it been? 20 years. Like, that don't make no sense.
Who knows? And who cares?
Really, who cares?
If they expose it, it's just gonna put more money in their pocket anyway. If they release those unseen bits, it's just gonna put more money in the Kardashians.
Is that Kim K Unpicked? Yeah, unseen bits.
Unseen bits. Do you know what I mean? It's just going to put more money in her pocket. So I don't care.
She'll break OnlyFans if she made a page, and that was the only piece of content she put on it. She'll break OnlyFans.
She would supersede Black China in making the most money on OnlyFans if she dropped it. I say, Kim, drop it. We saw the dead head tape anyway. So you might as well drop everything else. Just let us see it, man. I don't know why you're crying.
Dead head, you know?
Yeah, it's already out there.
I don't know what it's with these famous women and the dead head. It's always a bit... Like, did you ever see the one of Talisa?
Yes. Shame to say,
mad.
I've seen quite a few of them. And Anyway, yeah. On a more serious note, the UK has been, I feel like London has been I feel like London has been torn because it's been half people complaining or upset about Queenie, and all of that, and then the other half, majority black community, going, we don't care about that colonizer, but we care about this, and it seems to have all happened around the same time. But unfortunately, a black man, his name is Chris Kaba, was killed, shot by the police in South London. I forget what part.
Streatham,
and killed. And their reason was they thought he had a weapon in the car. And the car had been involved apparently in previous criminal activity. That's how they pulled him up. So they chased him, shot into the driver's side window, shot him dead. And it has arisen a lot of conversation around systematic racism in the UK, and also around it's not the first time the police have killed a black person in the UK, in London, and it's just brought all that back up again. So I actually wanted to do a moment's silence. It's very British of me. But I did want to do a moment's silence for Chris. Our hearts goes out to Chris's family, his friends, anyone that knew him. And yeah, we want to say rest in peace. And I'm hopeful, I'm hoping that this does not just spark conversation on social media and on the news, but it actually drives a change. So, I'm going to start the minute now. So Venom, what are your thoughts around what happened and the whole conversation behind the systematic racism and stuff?
I think my issue with this particular incident is around the use of excessive force, because for our viewers who might not be from the UK, guns aren't common like in, pedestrians, civilians can't carry guns in the same way that they can in certain states in America where it's legal. Some places you can hunt and carry hunting weapons, but generally speaking, people don't have guns. So when police interact with civilians with guns, you would assume it's only extreme circumstances, and that situation has presented itself as being extreme initially, and then it then has a extreme response. But so yeah, for a black guy to be driving a car, it's a complicated story because the car wasn't registered to him. And so it very much could have been a car that was registered to someone who has got a history or some kind of connection to violence or whatever it may be. So that confusion part I can understand. But if someone has not shown you any signs of being aggressive towards you, even if they're fleeing, which he from the way the story is told, it sounds like he was fleeing from the police.
Yeah.
That doesn't then speak to I must shoot and kill this person, or even if you weren't intending to kill them, but I must shoot this person. Nothing in the story speaks to shooting the person. I've seen, as a black man, I've been followed by the police many times, but sometimes they don't actually pull me over. Sometimes they just follow me because they've seen I'm black, and then they run the plates, they follow me until the computer comes back with nothing, then they leave.
And then they go. Yeah.
So obviously in his circumstance that's happened, but then something has come back because that vehicle is not his and something must be on the vehicle. Fair enough. But to go from that to being shot is just very... There's just a lot of steps in between where you're like, they even ran the car to pin it down. So you're like, okay, so if you pin the vehicle, in my mind, you'd have to at least wait for a threat to present itself from this point where you then have to retaliate. It's not... I think my issue is that I know it's not been done in retaliation because there's nothing to retaliate to. Someone ran, you trapped them, and then you shot them. And then they died. Essentially. So, and I know that your angle is one of hope, but for me, I'm just quite disappointed, if I'm honest. And
I'm not saying
hopeful.
that my angle is hope. I'm just being hopeful, because if we're not going to be hopeful, then what's left for us to do? Just be in a pessimistic state. And I know I should manage my expectations. I know the country that we live in, and I know that to call a spade, this country is very good at masking its racism and masking this ideal that it's good at masking the reality, which is it's not great. Great Britain is not great. Let's just put it that way. Like, it's not this overly it's not a country where we've moved away from some issues from the past, but it likes to act like it has. Like, the government and some institutions will almost brainwash people into believing that things are way better, but things haven't changed much from the 90s when they were like pulling black men over like it was a game, right? And it's not that long ago. It's 20 years ago we're talking, so it's really not that long ago, and things have not really changed. But for me, I'm very the type of person I am. I try my best to just have a more hopeful mind, because if not, I'll be in despair. I'll just be like, what's the point? Because if this is what it's going to be, what's the point? And I don't want to live my life like that. There's been some demonstrations. There's been some protesting. There's been a lot of conversation. It's on the news. People are really talking about, like, why did they shoot to kill? There was other options that they could have taken. Why did they choose that option? The police officer's been suspended. Apparently the officers that were working with that police officer that shot that time handed in their arms. They're like refusing to walk or some crap like that or whatever, in solidarity with their working,
with him shooting
with their colleague. But it happened. It's not the first time. It might not be the last time. But at least the conversations are being had, more so than, let's say, when it happened to Mark Duggan, for example, R.I.P., and some of the other black men that it's happened to. There's some that are named because we've had it come out in the press. There's some where it probably wasn't they weren't named, but it's been a conversation that's been going on for a week now, and I'm hoping that it continues, because it's not something that they can just sweep under the carpet anymore. People are wising up. People are talking. We're in a time now where people talk a lot. There's loads of podcasts. There's loads of people speaking on social media, think pieces on TikTok and etc. So it can't be ignored. That's why.
I agree.
That's why I'm saying I'm hopeful.
But then this is in the wake of George Floyd, which is why I'm not as hopeful, because anything prior to that, I'd say, you could just put it to everything else that's led to these kind of injustices being committed against black people who are basically civilians, actually. But after that point, there has been a big illumination specifically on institutions and racism and the treatment of black people in a variety of ways. So, like, yeah, George Floyd was a black man dying at the hands of the police, which this literally is a direct correlation. But that incident led not just to us looking at police brutality, but also how institutions treat black people, and not just men, but women as well. How do we treat black models? How do we, etc., etc.? How do we pay influencers? Everything's become a topic of discussion. So after all of that discourse, those riots and protests, to now be here, was it like 2 years later, 3 years later? I'm just like, really?
But why did you expect any different?
No, but I'm saying at that point in time, I'm like, a lot of conversation has been had, and a lot of,
I hear that,
or it has been highlighted. So now, if anything should change, that should have been the point of change. So this
directly after the Black Lives Matter, directly after all of that discourse and all of those protests, not only did the government ban people from protesting, but they also submitted a report, which we spoke about before, trying to debunk the idea that there is racism in the UK and that there's institutional racism at that. So actually, it's not, I don't think that those conversations and those protests made any change. And that's why I'm saying that the UK is very good at masking reality. It's very good at making it seem like, you lot black people in the UK shouldn't be protesting because this is not America. It's not the same here. We're more accepting. We've moved on. The fact that people are upset that people are bringing up colonization at the time that the Queen died, and there's royalists that are like, forget that, it's not about that, we should, she's our queen. That in itself shows you that we've not moved forward. It's very much we're in a racist country, whether people want to accept that or not, right? And so I hear it when you're saying, you're disappointed and all of that discourse and all that protesting, all of those conversations. It is a disappointment that we're here, but I personally, I'm not going to lie to you, I knew that from the time when the government published that report, I knew that all of that was basically a waste of time. Hence why I'm saying I'm hopeful that this time, you can only be hopeful, innit? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I hope that this time this conversation is taken seriously and it's not swept under the carpet with another report. Months ago, we had a black man jump off a bridge into the River Thames because the police were, do you know what I mean? So
using excessive force.
Do you know what I mean? So it's not out of the ordinary for a black person to be chased or they're trying to be reprimanded by the police and for them to run because they know that, you know what, it's unlikely that this is going to end well for me anyway. So, but yeah, my heart goes out to his family, his friends. I don't like the idea of people trying to talk about his character, whether he's a rapper or not, whether he's involved in crime or not in the past, whether he's this or that. The facts of the matter is they thought he had a weapon. They ran his plate. They found out the car had been involved in some sort of crime. Not even to speak of the fact that anyone's car could have been at a scene of a crime because of the way CCTV works. You could have been at the scene of a crime that happened 10 hours before, but because you was at the scene of where the crime was, your car would run. If they run your number plate through the system, it would come up as that car was there at a scene of a crime. So
it could have just been parked.
Could have been parked. It doesn't mean anything. You chased him because you thought he had a weapon. He didn't have the weapon. You would have found out that he didn't have the weapon if you just done things correctly, and he would still be alive. So all this discourse and conversation around his character just really it's all smokes and mirrors. It takes the focus away from what the focus is supposed to be.
It's a lot of that. I
yeah.
agree. And the in the report, I was watching like a news report that was kind of trying to really explain just the whole narrative of it. And they were talking about him possibly acting suspiciously, or this being a description, etc. And again, you talking about character. The reason why all of that, I wouldn't say it's triggering to me, but again, this is just why I'm vexed about it, is because there's absolutely nothing illegal about acting as suspiciously as you feel. Until you commit a crime, you've committed no crime. So you can be as you are. If you're suspicious, bro, that's you. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. So again, this guy should not be dead.
Should be alive.
Because he's committed no crime.
Facts.
At least based on what they was pursuing him for, he committed no crime. So there was actually no real reason to pursue him other than the car. And once you've killed him, you've also highlighted to yourself and each other that there was no reason to pursue the man. So that is my issue. You do not have to be an angel. You don't have to be a saint. You don't have to not be suspicious. You don't have to be anything. You can just be, and you should be able to just be and still be alive. You shouldn't have to be well behaved because you're black, or act more polite to the police because you're black. Like, no, I can be suspicious. Like, that's me. From now on, I'm suspicious. Like,
Facts.
bun you, it just it don't run for me. So that's why...
Yeah.
That's why I'm annoyed more than anything.
So September is Suicide Prevention Month nationally. I believe also in America as well. I'm not sure. I think I might be wrong. Someone let me know if I'm wrong. I'm sure someone will let me know if I'm wrong. But yeah, it is Suicide Prevention Month. On the 10th of September is the day nationally where people bring more awareness to it. But since it's a month thing, we thought we would bring the topic of mental health to the table. So yeah, Venom, let's talk mental health in general.
Yeah, mental health in general.
I want to kick off by asking you, have you ever had a time where you were dealing with mental health issues? Like, ever?
Yeah, mental health issues. I feel like my mental health is in a decent place. It can never be 100, but my mental health is in a decent place. The most challenging I ever found my mental health was when my grandma passed away. And I was already a man in terms of my age, but I had to become a man because I wasn't independent. I lived with my grandma, and she obviously took care of certain things in the house. Like, she would cook every day. I just buy her food and she'll cook. So there was a lot of housekeeping things that I wasn't necessarily doing, and I was more so helping with. And when you have an adult in the house anyway, they cue you to do certain things. They might be like, oh, go and clean this, blah, blah, blah. And you'd be like, yeah, cool, whatever. So when I lost that figure, I obviously knew in myself, well, I have to become a man. There's no choice about it. And I'd say that I wasn't in a financial position to be independent. So life got really tough, like, very, very quickly. I didn't even know if I was going to have a home to live in because I wasn't a registered tenant with my grandma. I was just living with her because there was no plans. Like, she wasn't like Lizzie. She wasn't on her deathbed. She was, an old person just plodding along, and then all of a sudden she was gone. So, so that was a very, very, very challenging time. And in all honesty, as much as people reached out to me to try and console me and be there for me, it's very hard to communicate just how broken I was from that experience, because yeah, my grandma's like my favorite relative. Besides the fact that I live with her, like obviously someone can become your favorite, but she was always my favorite sort of thing. So there's this great emotional loss, and then there's this responsibility, and then this financial burden, and then you know what I mean. It's just like everything attacking me all at the same time. And I still have a cat, but I also had a cat that was dependent on me, so it was just wild, the wildest thing I've ever experienced in all my days. And yeah, I was just very fortunate that at that moment in time there was this one person that overextended themselves to like be there for me. And yeah, I'll always be grateful for her for that, because sometimes it's like she wasn't the closest person to me. She was kind of like a friend, but just, you know, a friend that was further afield.
Yeah.
But at that moment, she just came real close, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And yeah, it meant a lot, and it did a lot. It did a whole lot. So with my personal mental health experience, having somebody to talk to made all the difference, because I genuinely didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to pay bills. I didn't know if me not paying the bills would mean that people come and kick me out of the house. I didn't know how long I was going to be in the house. It was just everything at once.
How long did it take you to overcome that?
Which part? The emotional loss, or
the whole thing? Because I don't think people really like deep with bereavement, especially with someone really close. It's almost like people expect that, oh yeah, after a certain time, like it's done, innit? But in reality, like how long?
How long did it take?
At what point did you realize that, you know what? I feel like it's not so bad anymore. Like, okay, life goes on. I feel like I've reached some sort of normality.
Being that I'm an optimist, I'd say the life goes on part came quite quick. But the I think the loss was a really big surprise to me. I'd never considered her passing away, even though she's an old woman. So I never considered how much that would hurt, because I've lost a lot of friends over my lifetime. Like I've had a lot of friends who've not been well, or who have developed illnesses over the course of their life and stuff. I've lost a lot of friends, but I was always able to make peace with those losses, because we shared great times, and I guess that was our relationship. Whereas this woman was kind of like my mother and my father for us, you know what I mean? And then growing up, she was also a mentor and guided me from being a young man into like, you know, this is kind of what you should be as a man. This is how you should, you know, like a proper, she made me have more traditional values for myself as a man, because she's an old woman, innit? So the shock of not having that was a lot, and that's what made it hard. But I'm trying to think, how long did it take me to get over? I mean, because I really just buried myself in socializing, if I'm honest. After I was able to face the fact that she was gone, and face the fact that I had to do certain things and bring in a certain amount of money and pay certain bills and all of that, then I just buried myself in socializing with my friends at work, and just go out drinking and partying, and like literally every single week non-stop, just to like make myself happy. Not that being alone ever made me sad, but I just like not force myself to be happy, but like just threw myself into it even more. So I kind of didn't really see anything for years because it was just a rolling. We're doing this, we're doing that. Like we're not stopping. It's just this, that, this, that, this, that.
Yeah.
So maybe about 3 or 4 years, maybe. But like, even if I was to really like just start thinking about it in a certain serious way, I could just burst into tears now. But that's less about my mental health and more about the fact that I love this person so much,
So
and
much.
they're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not around, but
Wow.
yeah. But it's a really deep connection. Not everybody even forms that kind of connection with someone in their lifetime. I was just fortunate enough to have someone like that. So yeah, that's why I say it so much depends on
I resonate
everybody's.
with that because I lost my grandma. My mum's mum was I was her first grandchild, and she was my favorite. Even my dad, the cousins on my dad's side, they loved her. Like she was just that person in it, and we were very close. But I lost her when I was 15.
So what was your like first, intense experience with regards to mental health that you can recall?
I did not prepare. I was not. So, I would say as far back as I can remember, I've had, I used to get anxious for what felt like no reason. So, I could have like a period of time, I can't quantify it, where everything's cool. Everything's normal. Go to school, help my siblings, do my thing. And then I'll have a season where I'm just intensely sad. And overly anxious. Like just as far back as I can remember. And I used to talk to my parents about it. I'd be like, oh, I'm just not happy. Like, something's not right. And, bless them, African parents. It's, oh, don't worry. There's nothing for you to be upset about. There's nothing for you to be sad about. Like, everything's, we've got a roof over your head. And, just get on with it. And so I just understood that for me, I was the kind of person that sometimes I was happy and then I'd have bouts or seasons of really, like, intense sadness, and that was just normal for me. Towards my mid-20s was when I was officially like something happened, and it's mad, because I can't tell you what happened. My memory of my childhood's very hazy. I don't have the best memory of my childhood, and I found out later on it's because mental health can do that to you.
Yeah.
So I couldn't tell you like the first time or anything like that. I remember key events, I remember certain conversations, but I couldn't tell you like a lot. But yeah, in my mid-20s, something happened and I went through a season of like deep depression. And I couldn't work. So I was like signed off work. I think I was off work for like 5 months or something like that. It was a very long time.
That's quite a stint.
And I just told my GP that, you know what? It was weird because the day that I called my GP, it was I wanted to be off sick because I knew that I'd reached a point where I can't keep my head above water. This is how I see my life. Like I'm constantly trying to keep my head above water so I don't sink. in how I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling. So I got to a point one day, I woke up and I was like, I can't go to work today because I'm sinking and I can't keep my head above the water. So I'm going to call my GP. So I called my GP and I was like, I'm having headaches. Like, I just explained everything, how I'm feeling. And they were like, how long have you felt this way? And I was like, this happens all the time. Like, it's normal for me. It's just this time I physically can't face going in. So they signed me off. And then what turned into a week, started with a week, just ended up being like 5 months. And because I'd spoken to my GP, they had me speak to some like psychiatrists and stuff. And that's when they were like, yeah, this is depression and anxiety that you're experiencing. And I became a shell of myself. So like when I'm in a good place, I'm bubbly, I'll laugh, I'll joke, I'll whatever. When I'm down, I can't be asked. None of that.
Yeah.
I can't be asked with the performing. So I'm here, I'll get things done, I'll show up, but I can't laugh and joke and stuff. I can't do that. So I think that was the first time my family really were like, we got to take this seriously. So yeah, that was my first, well, I guess that's a bit of background around me and mental health. It's a journey. But yeah, I can't tell you my earliest experience because I genuinely can't remember. Just know that from as far back as I can remember.
Yeah.
Difficult times, and I don't 100% know why. I've done therapy and stuff, and I know I've talked through some what is traumatic to me anyway, events.
Mm.
And I'm understanding myself better. And now I know my triggers, I know when it's coming. But yeah, that's pretty much.
But then just speaking to the triggers and stuff, like what did you feel helped or can help? Because for me, obviously, it was literally like one specific person. Not that I don't have loads of amazing people who are always there for me, but like, I don't know, I feel like I needed that fresh person to talk to who was removed from my inner circle, and that was what sort of allowed me to actually open up. Like, I was on the phone crying to this girl, like she just said, yeah, like, you know, just hit me with it. So I did, and I didn't even know what I was gonna say, but yeah, I think it was more so the process of allowing myself to open up, which I don't think I was ready to do with my friends, for fear of judgment, probably. Probably.
Wow, that's a deep question. I didn't expect you to ask that question.
Just want to give a rounded, you know, account of like what, you know. And it doesn't mean that there necessarily is this thing, oh, this is the magic button, someone presses this and everything's okay, but do you know what I mean?
I need a minute.
Where's darling?
I'm back.
He's back.
Sorry, I didn't expect to get emotional. I think
That's
because you
all right.
spoke about your grandma, and then obviously this is a very real thing for me, so I didn't expect to get
It's
so
fine.
emotional so soon.
No, that is fine, man.
Okay, so I don't have a person. It's weird. I was talking about this with my brother the other day because he's got his stuff that he's going through at the moment, and he talks to me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up, I kind of wanted a relationship with my siblings where they could come and talk to me about stuff like that, because I didn't have that. It's just, yeah, I didn't have it. And mental health is something that I really care about, like big time. So yeah, we have catch ups. Me and my brother will meet up, we'll have a catch up, and I do the same thing with my sister. And I was saying to him that it's so important to have a person Because when you don't have that person, have anyone that you feel you can talk to about these things, depends on depends on who you are as a person and how you deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I think that I never really dealt with it properly because I didn't have a person. So I would go through what I'm going through, feel how I'm feeling for a season, and then I'd be like, damn, you need to snap out of it, because you've got people depending on you. You've got siblings depending on you. You've got parents depending on you. You've got a job. You've got to get things done. And then I would force myself to just keep my head above water until I'm tired again, and then it start again. So that's something that I recognize through therapy, that, you know, like, okay, let's go back to go forward. So basically, quite recently, I went through a season of feeling like, yeah, I'm tired, period. I was like, I'm done. I'm so tired of up and down, up and down. If this is what life is, I don't want a part of it anymore. And I mistakenly mentioned that to my boss. And she was like, yeah, you need to speak to someone about that. So I spoke to my doctor again, and then they were like, yeah, sign off. This time, do you want medication, whatever. I'm not a fan of medication. I've been there, done that. So I was like, no, I just need to speak to someone, basically. Like, so luckily for me, I've got private medical insurance. So I was able to do it through Bupa, because we all know the NHS right now. It's a no-go area. I tried the NHS in the beginning. All till now, they don't know if I'm still here or not. Let's just put it that way. So in therapy, we spoke about it. And I realised that pretty much from as far back as I can remember, as I said, I've been in a fight or flight state constantly. Constant fight or flight. Constant, okay, I'm fighting. When I'm fighting, that's the time where I'm happy. That's the time where I'm upbeat. I'm like, you know, I can do this. I've got to be strong. I've got people to think about. The flight bit is those times where I'm like, it's too much, it's on top, I'm tired, etc., etc. And it's mad, because the last time I felt that way, like that I was considering, you know, the thing that kept me going wasn't that I had someone to talk to, it was those responsibilities. I started thinking, I've got a sibling in uni right now, final year. If I did that, how would that affect them? My sister lost her best mate a few years ago. She's still working through that. If she lost her big sister, how would she deal with that? My mum, she's still mourning my grandma who died when I was 15. You know, like my dad, so I was thinking about everyone but me. And because I was thinking about how it would affect everyone, I felt trapped in my life. Like, oh, I'm stuck here. I have to stay in a life that I'm not happy with, in a state I'm not happy with, for the sake of other people. And even that is a fight response. So I was talking about all of that with my my therapist, and she was like, yeah, it's good that you've acknowledged it, because now you realize that you need someone or you need something. And I've got to a point now, for a while now actually, where I'm like, I'm not going to force myself to be strong. I'm not going to force myself to fight. I have to work through this, because I can't imagine having a child and having these seasons. I wouldn't be a good mother. And being a mum is something that I fundamentally want to be. So if I can't do it for me, I need to do it for the future kid that I want to have.
I do think children change a lot, though.
Big time.
About people, though. I mean, like as in like for yourself, like, because a lot of, one of the things that they do say a lot with regards to people who have challenging mental health scenarios is to be around children. Not necessarily to have children, but they say be around children, because, and that's one thing that I do naturally, probably as a balancing act as well.
Yeah.
But when you're around children, there's something about their, I don't know if it's their innocence or their lack of understanding of the world, or rather their simplicity, that actually is so uplifting, because it actually reminds you of how simple things actually can be. But you know what I mean? When the older you get, the more complicated and the more layers you put on.
Yeah.
And a kid, I'm telling you now, I love having conversations with kids because they just peel all the onion back. They're like, you're just left with the tiniest little bulb and you're like, oh, snap. Yeah, it really could just be that simple. Like, imagine that's all I cared about was that bottle of orange juice. Yeah, you're damn straight. It's mad.
Isn't it?
That's why I work with children.
Yeah.
Obviously to help them with their things as well. But it just gives life a complete different context when you're seeing, even when you're seeing, I mean, like, because I deal with and work with now kids who are like sort of teenage, they are at a stressful transitional part of life where maybe they're starting secondary school, or maybe they're in secondary school and dealing with secondary school stuff. And
it's a crucial
you know
time.
what I mean? Yeah, seeing that, how that consumes them. And then you're thinking of this massive life that you have, and you're seeing how important they think that is. It almost, I don't know how it works, but it can and has had a positive effect. You're just like, wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Getting Toby was a big deal for me because he is my emotional support. He's my emotional support. How sad.
It's not sad.
He is. He brings me to reality. Is the best way I can explain it. So if I'm in a moment of thinking about the future too much, or dwelling on the past, he brings me back to today, like right now.
Yeah.
So that has been really helpful. Therapy, obviously. It's for a long time though. The reason why I asked you about with your grandma how long it took you is because for a long time I thought that with mental health there's a fix, and once it's fixed, it's done. And the first time I had that 5-month sign off work, and I guess that event when I was diagnosed, after the therapy and stuff, and I went back to work, I remember thinking, okay, obviously I'm not stupid. I've been dealing with this my whole life. It's not gone completely. But I do distinctly remember feeling like I'm not normal anymore. I'm broken. Like, there's a change in me now.
Yeah.
Pre this time, I had ups and downs, but that was normal. Post that was like, okay, now I'm not normal anymore. I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why I was asking, like, okay, at what
No,
point
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, like
I definitely see myself as a changed person in a way that's closer to being broken, but like maybe if you break something and then you repair it,
it's not the same. Exactly.
Yeah,
like I saw myself as like a glass. Like, you know when you smash glass and you put it back together?
Yeah.
It's together, but you can see the lines. You can see it's been through trauma. Yeah.
But there's a thing that I think it's the Japanese. I hope it's the Japanese that they do where, like, if their ceramics break, they don't throw it out. They repair it, and they repair it with gold. So then all the cracks just have gold, and that's what holds it together. And that's sort of where I see myself as, I'm broken, but I also, it makes me look better. Like, this is a new me, but this is also what it is. The difference is just, I don't swear on this podcast, man, but that would have been the best way to describe it. But I just don't give a damn is maybe the best way to describe myself now. Whereas I had a lot of reservations because I thought tomorrow's promised and da-da-da-da. And now I'm just like, here's what it is, man. I'm just whatever. And it's a good thing at times, it's a bad thing at other. But I think for my own mental health, it's a great thing because nothing has the same level of importance it ever once did. Where I used to think things were so grandiose and so definitive, and so nothing is that important now. The only thing that's important is my happiness and whatever I'm trying to do. And if it's not conducive to either of those things, I don't care. It's bye. Like, it's as simple as, like, I would have never even arrived at that had that not happen to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took me breaking to realize half of this stuff is not even important. Realistically, I'd never considered it, but up until that moment, the only thing that was important to me was my relationship with my nan and the rest of my family members. And everything else I didn't really care about. Never cared about work. Even when I'm doing the things that I love, yeah, I love them, but I don't live to work. So I don't love that more than chilling and chatting with my nan. Like some people be like, oh yeah, I love chilling with the man them or like the beanies. Nah, I'd give in all of those things to just chat with my nan because banter. Like, so she just be having me laughing, and it's just so interesting because the gap is real. Like the generational gap is real, but the connection level is also just as real, if you know what I mean. So
yeah.
So it just, for me, it put into perspective what I actually care about. I didn't know before that point. Now I know. Nah, it's people. It's my connection with people. That's it. There's other things I layer on top of that, but essentially, I just care about the connections I have with people, and that's it. Like,
yeah, for me, it's a lot more general than that. For me, I just want to have peace of mind because for a long time I haven't had that. And I just want to I don't want to say be happy because being happy is fleeting, innit? But I just want to live my life and be like, I don't care about what other people think, or I'm just living for me. I'm not living because people depend on me, or I've got stuff that needs to be done, or I don't want to have to be strong. I don't want to have... This is why I talk about soft life. When I say I want a soft life, yeah, I'm not just talking I want a man with money that's going to spend money on me and give me an allowance, because I'm quite happy to be in a relationship, be married or whatever, and work and do my part. Do you know what I mean? When I'm talking soft life, I'm talking peace. I'm talking like... There's going to be hardships, but I don't want to be worried that something difficult will come and it will completely knock me off.
Yeah.
I want to be able to be like, it will come and I know how to deal with it and I'll still move forward. So having those seasons, those big seasons especially, there's been 2 times in my life where I've considered self-deleting. I've thought about it. I don't want there to be any more. And I don't want, this is why I said after the first time, I was like, I just want to be normal, because that's how I see it. Like, it's not normal to think that way. It's not normal for anyone to go have like a roller coaster of a life emotionally or mentally. So I look at other people who seem to still have hardships, but don't seem to have that way of thinking, and I see myself as raw, like, you're broken, there's something wrong. And I've never, after experiencing those things, wanted to be normal, wanted to have a more optimistic way all the time, way of living, not just when I'm feeling okay, but also when things are not great. I want to be able to be the positive all the time. But unfortunately, my brain's not wired that way. So, yeah, for me, it's not that it necessarily showed me that I value what I value. Basically, it showed me that I value peace of mind more than anything, because that's the one thing that I haven't had consistently.
But then I guess the question then falls to, like, how do you achieve peace of mind? You know what I mean? Like, what are the things that actively work against that? And what, if anything, works to, like...
It's hard because I'll use the podcast as an example, yeah? So for years, I was like, yeah, I think that I have a personality for... I say this off air all the time. I think I have a personality for TV, for radio, for, I meet people and they're like, do you speak for a living? I don't think I'm the most eloquent, because I'm not always the best at expressing myself, but people seem to think I speak for a living and I enjoy talking. I guess you can say I like the sound of my voice. So I've always wanted to do a podcast. I never did it though. Why? Anxiety. Oh, people aren't going to like me. And am I going to be able to deal with that? Am I going to be okay with people having horrible things to say about me? Like, how is that going to affect me? What if the day that someone says something really upsetting is the day when I'm feeling down, and that's what sends me over the edge? So I just didn't want to do it. But then we know the history of how this came about. So I feel like I was just like forced myself to do it, right? Irrespective. And yeah, I've had some harsh things said about me, things that aren't necessarily true, that have at points got me down, as you know. But the fact that I still show up and do the podcast in of itself, to me, shows growth, shows that I'm moving away from I'm healing, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because it's forced me to
maybe
step
it's not
outside.
even healing, but growing as well.
Growing, I can't say 100% healing. Growing, because it's like I used to stop myself from doing things because I didn't know if I'd be able to handle it if things didn't go the way.
Yeah.
But now I'm just like, you know what? Sometimes do the stuff that you feel uncomfortable with doing. Therapy is the biggest. I'm always gonna be an advocate for therapy, because whatever type you want to do, whether you want to do cognitive behavioral or whether you want to speak to a psychiatrist or whatever, like, seek out what works for you and stick to it, and then have people that are accountable for reminding you of that in a season of sadness or depression or anxiety or whatever. Because there's going to be times when it gets to a point where you know what to do, but you're so demotivated in life that you don't do it. You're just like, I know what to do, but I'm just going to lie here with the curtains drawn in my bedroom for 3 days, not wash any dishes, not go outside, order food in because I can't be out to cook, not clean up, because I know that I need to do stuff to get out of it, but I just can't be asked because I'm just in such a bad place. So you need to have people around who you might not necessarily speak your mind to and whatever, but they notice when something's not quite right, and then they kind of like help you to, however small, help you to try and get back on the path. So, because the biggest thing for me that I learned from therapy was it is doing those little mundane things that starts to help you feel normal again. I wouldn't have known that if I didn't go to therapy. And the times when I've backslid or whatever, I've had friends that come and remind me of that. So yeah, I would say therapy is the biggest one. Some people, they need and can only go with medication. I opted away from that because for a while I couldn't get off it.
It is addictive. Like most of these drugs are not balancing,
and it changes.
I mean.
It kind of changed who I was, because I didn't feel like I was in control of my body or my mind. So yeah, but yeah, I'm probably one of the biggest advocates for therapy, and I don't think sometimes how am I going to put this? Sometimes it's better to speak to someone who is completely removed from your life. And that's why I'm an advocate for therapy, because not everyone is fortunate enough to say, oh, I've got that one person or that one friend like me who I can open up to. And it's not that it's pride, it's that when you know what other people are going through and you don't want to add, or if you've been dealing with something reoccurringly for years, you don't want to sound like a broken record, so you just keep it to yourself. And you're just like, okay, I'm going to deal with this by myself. Because to them, this is normal. Okay, she has 6 months of being cool, and then she has that 2-3 months where she's like, do you know what I mean? We're doing this again. And you don't want to be that. So yeah, it's always good. I would say therapy is good for that reason, because you're speaking to someone who's totally removed.
So I've never gone to paid therapy before, ever.
Yeah.
But that's because I mean, all of my friends could tell you I'm not into paying for things. that's off rip.
You gotta save the coin, you know.
That's off rip.
Save the coin.
But I'm a really emotional guy, a conversational guy. I'm a talker. Like, not unnecessarily, but like if talk is required, I'm happy to do so. And if the person's the right kind of person, I don't mind getting into it with them. And rest in peace to one of my brothers. But one of my brothers, he's not even from my ends. He's from like he was not from my ends. He used to live quite far to the east. But we just used to drive to Ali Pali in the middle of the night and just park up in the car park up there, because obviously at that time it's free anyway. And we'd just stand outside our cars and just rap for like hours. He'd tell me all the stuff that was going on with him and his wife and his daughter and and like how it's making him feel, and his mom, and not necessarily that there's something that I can offer him as a advice. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. And then it'd be like, yo, so, you know, I mean, what you got on? And I'm like, yep, boom, boom, boom. And we just talked for ages. And that was it. And then we just hop in each other. Everyone gets back in their car, they drive on their way.
That's beautiful.
And it was just an outlet, knowing that somebody real is receiving, you know, what I'm saying. And they are a friend, obviously, as well. And I know, like, as a brother, he was a man of faith, so he had certain, not that he was perfect, but he had expectations of me nonetheless, even though he confessed everything to me. So like, good side, bad side, I know, you know, what maybe people wouldn't. But, you know, morally, the compass is one way if you're claiming a faith. So also that, having somebody who has a compass. And I like the fact of having somebody who's real and it being a sharing experience. I guess that's maybe another reason why I've not gravitated towards therapy ever, is merely because it's not a sharing experience, and I'm very much a giver and a taker. I like it to go both ways.
Yeah.
So that's probably why that hasn't spoken to me.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's just as we've been talking, I've been like thinking back to like, so who did I used to talk to, man? 'Cause I feel like I've really spoken to different people at different stages about different things, just as and when. But the first one was that girl when my nan passed away.
See,
that was like the beginning.
Wait, I've shared stuff with people that have just thrown it back in my face. So
I mean, yeah, that's happened too. That's happened too.
I have trust issues when it comes to this, because this for me, my mental health is probably my one and only thorn in my side. It's the thorn I have in my side. And if I share that with someone or share a particular time where I'm going through something deep and they don't handle it a certain way, it just makes me go, I can't go back there. It's not safe.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I've had quite a few so-called friends let me down. With family, I guess because I hold on to my responsibility in the family, it's not that they're not people that I can talk to. It's that I'm looking at my brother, for example, who's got his own stuff that he's told me about, and then I feel like I'm not going to offload on him because he's dealing with his own thing. Do you know what I mean?
I hear you, but at the same time,
plus he's a good decade and a bit younger than me.
Age doesn't mean anything. Age doesn't mean anything.
Some of the stuff that I'm thinking about, he's not even got there yet. He's not thought about it. He's not.
It doesn't mean that he can't offer a perspective that is.
Oh no, absolutely
beneficial.
He's absolutely intelligent and wise, and there's things that I do talk to him about, but there's certain things as well that it's like, no, I wouldn't. And it's because I care. What is my therapist? I put them before me. So it's like, I don't want them. I don't want to burden them. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want them to worry about me.
It's just because a lot of people kind of, I think in how my life has gone, a lot of people have kind of reached out in that way with positive intent, and I've gravitated towards it. So I have a lot of like positive experiences of that, even with strangers and new friends, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
I would say my newer friends, the friends I have now are way, and I say with chest, way better than the friends I've had in the past. Like, the people in my life right now, yeah, they're the real deal for now. The friends I've had in the past, I'd say that.
It's just different, isn't it? When you're at different stages of life, it's just different.
Yeah. But I think that's maturity. I think I've grown as I've gotten older. You have better decision making skills. Like, you can decipher. You've got better discernment.
Yeah,
because you're
I
like,
agree.
you know
I
what?
agree.
Yeah, this one's moving a bit booky still. No, that one, yeah, they're showing. Do you know what I mean? I must slide closer to that one. That kind of thing. So I think when you're younger, I wasn't as wise anyway. I trusted people I shouldn't have trusted. So
that happens, man. It's part of life.
It's part of life. It's part of
that's how you learn.
If I didn't do that, I wouldn't have got to the place now where I've got.
You'd still be trusting people like that.
Do you know what I mean? Left and right. You know, thinking everyone's got an open heart like me. No. So
yeah, the people who have your best interest at heart or just are the right people for you. You'd never find them if you were looking. They'll find you.
They find you. Yeah. Every single one have found me. Everyone.
Yeah. One of my sisters, like, she just snatched me. You know that holiday that I went to, that I just literally just come back from?
Yeah.
So the first time I ever did it, I met this girl. I have to shout out Tish because I love her to bits anyway. But I met this girl who I've known of for years because she is a dancer. Yeah. I used to dance. She is a dancer. I knew her from way back when I first started. She was already amazing, but I never knew her. So I never cared. Just like, yeah, she's her, and she was amazing. So it used to piss me off as well because I'm like a winner spirit. I need to be the best if I'm into something. So a little bit. So yeah, not knowing her was even worse. So I was like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, I've gone to this holiday in like, I don't know, what is it, 2018? Yeah. And out of nowhere, the second she sees me, she just took me in on a deep, like, just, yeah. And since that day, like, anything that she lives in Dubai, will be, especially over like COVID and the lockdown, we were just rapping hours and hours, like, whatever. Yeah, cool. We'll just have a talk about it. Talk about whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, I've spent probably more hours talking to her over the last, let's say, from 2018, arguably, than a lot of people that are like, yeah, never actually thought about it, but because it's just how it is, if you know what I mean. Some people are just really here for you.
Yeah. I mean, for me, because when I'm in that space, it gets very dark. So dark that I don't want to talk about it with people that I know. But even in those seasons, I do have friends who recognize it, that something's not quite right. Or, so for example, I have one friend, we used to live together, we were housemates turned friends, and I could post something on my stories, that to everyone else looks like bants or is nothing to pay attention to. She'd be knocking on my door. She'll drive to mine, knock on my door. And then she'll look around and be like, yeah, I knew it. Now, you could say because she lived with me. So she seen, like, in real time. And I don't talk to her. I mean, we talk, don't get me wrong, we talk. But I don't express how dark it's gotten to her. But just that act of her coming and being like, okay, let's order some food, let's lie in the dark to, like, okay, nothing's going on. But let's just lay here, let's whatever, take my mind off it.
I feel like that sounds worse than what you should have just said. Lay in the dark together. That definitely.
What did I say?
Worse.
What did I say?
You said, let's lay here, let's whatever. I'm like, okay,
take my mind off it.
Yeah, you know. Should have just said, let's lay in the dark together.
Take what you want from me. I don't
That
care.
was miles more safe.
Take what you want from me. I don't care. But we're not sponsored for this episode, guys. But I will put some links at the bottom of the screen in the description to some websites, to some resources for if anyone is going through something, has been through something, or knows someone that is going through something mental health wise, and you want to support them, or you need the support, you need the help, then there's some links that I'll put in the description. So guys, it's been a hell of a roller coaster episode, you know. Rest up, Queenie. Liz and that, rest up. Rest in peace, Chris Kaba. And I hope that there's justice. We spoke about something heavy today. Venom and I shared a lot actually, about ourselves. You guys are starting to get to know us a lot more. Damn. Not going to ask you to leave comments in the description, leave comments below about your mental health and stuff like that. It's not that type of party. Unless you feel compelled to, then fair enough. But in the description, I will be leaving some links to some resources. Anyone needs that help. And yeah, our socials are at the bottom of the screen. As per, you know. But yeah, until next time, guys, until next week, stay safe out there and peace.
Peace.